we're going to take everything that we learned about solving equations and solving simple inequalities and put it all together in solving inequalities using multiple steps. Okay? If it contains more than one operation, then it's going to take more than one step to solve it. And all we need to do is use the inverse operations to undo the operations that are in the inequality. We usually do the order of operations in reverse. If you're not sure what to do, put a number in for the variable and then write down the order of the steps that you would do to work out the problem. Then, to solve it, do those steps backwards. Okay, so here we go. We're going to just jump right in here. Little reminders. Here's a wall right here. Okay, so I'm trying to solve for B. So if I were to put a number into B and work this out, I would multiply by 2 first, and then I would add the 45. So I'm going to do that in reverse. I'm going to subtract 45 first. So as long as you do the same thing to both sides, you're good. And that's going to give me 2B is greater than 16. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I'm going to get B is greater than 8. Okay? So to graph that, I would find 8 on my number line, open circle, arrow going to the right. Okay? For this one, my wall is right here. I would subtract 6 from both sides, and that's going to give me negative 18 is greater than or equal to 3x. And I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Now, again, don't be tricked. Just because there's a negative there doesn't mean you flip the signs. You flip the signs if you multiply or divide both sides by negative, in which case I did not. So this is negative 6 is greater than or equal to x. That's confusing to me, so I take that and flip it over, and that's going to be x is less than or equal to negative 6. I would find negative 6, and for our purposes, we're just going to say it's right here. That will be a closed circle at negative 6 and an arrow going this way. Okay? If it's complicated, more complicated than that, you might have to simplify the expressions first. Now, that can be things like doing the order of operations if there's stuff you can do, the distributive property, combining like terms. On this first one, again, wall right here, I've got minus and negative, so I need to simplify that, and that's going to give me 12 is greater than negative 4t. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4. All right, that tells me to flip that sign over, and that's going to give you negative 3 is less than t, which is the same thing as t is greater than negative 3. Okay? All right, let's go to this next one. Here's my wall right here. I see the distributive property right here, so I do that first. So 3 plus 2x plus 8. Combine like terms, that's 2x plus 11. So I simplified that whole side of the inequality first, and now I go ahead and solve it. Subtract 11 from both sides, and that's 2x is greater than negative 8. Divide both sides by 2. X is greater than negative 4. So you should see that these are the same steps that we used when we were solving equations. It's just that now there's an inequality sign there, so we have to be careful in case we need to flip it. All right, wall right here. When I've got an equation or an inequality that involves a bunch of fractions and I don't want to use fractions, remember we have that little trick to get rid of the fractions by multiplying by the common denominator. Common denominator in this case would be 6. So I can multiply each one of these by 6. And that will change this. Let's see, 3 will go into 6 2 times. That's going to give me 4f plus 2 will go into 6 3 times. 3 times 1 is 3 is greater than 3 will go into 6 2 times 2. That makes the problem much easier to work. All right, so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. That's going to give me 4f is greater than negative 1. Divide both sides by 4. F is greater than negative 1/4. Remember, you can check these by substituting in. All right, last one here. This is divided by 2, so I'm going to start out by multiplying by 2. Okay, those will cancel out. That gives me 95 plus x is greater than or equal to 180. Subtract 95 from both sides. And that's going to give me x is greater than or equal to 85. Okay? All right, here's a couple more. All right, you'll notice that these are even a little more complex because they have a variable on both sides. That just means you've got to get the variable all on one side. So here's your wall. All right, I've got 4m's over here and 2m's over here. Let's start out by subtracting 2m's from both sides. That's going to give me 2m minus 3 is less than 6. Add 3 to both sides. That's going to give me 2m is less than 9. Divide both sides by 2. M is less than 9/2 or 4.5. Okay? Now again, hopefully you've done these and you're just checking yours. Add 2t to both sides here. And what that does is get the variables all on one side. So that's 7t plus 1 is less than negative 6. Subtract 1 from both sides. 7t is less than negative 7. Divide both sides by 7. T is less than negative 1. All right, this one's even more complex. So I've got the distributive property here. So that's going to give me 2k minus 6 is greater than, let's go ahead and combine like terms here. 6 minus 3 is 3 plus 3k. Now I need to get the k's all on one side. I always go for the smaller one. So I'm going to subtract 2k from both sides. That's going to give me negative 6 is greater than 3 plus k. Subtract 3 from both sides. That's going to give you negative 9 is greater than k, which is the same thing again. Flip it over. K is less than negative 9. That's it.